Fortunately, the work that we do, my partner Chase and I, gives us an opportunity to work with lots of graduate programs. So we're really blessed. We get to talk to cool people about cool things all the time. These guys are doing some really great stuff to try to put you in a position to succeed and to get the most out of this. You know, to give you the practicality of the real world experience. There's a lot of really top tier prominent programs out there that I don't think give you as much as these guys do. So although it's a tight group, take advantage of it. You know, because most of the ones we get involved with are really classroom heavy and, you know, it's just a step above the undergrad, right? So here's what we're going to do today, right? Really simple. I'm going to take about 10 minutes, okay? 10, 12 minutes max. I'm going to tell you 6 things. The 3 most important lessons that I've learned in 26 years in business, right? Personally and professionally. And then I'm going to tell you the 3 things that I wish I would have learned quicker. And then I'm going to turn it over to you and I just want to have a conversation. Deal? Here's what we're not going to do. I'm not going to lecture. So I'm going to ask you back and forth. Let's have dialogue. Let's really have a conversation around things that matter to you, because this is about you, not me. Okay? So what I expect from you is just be open, ask questions, right? Anything that's on your mind for the next 45 minutes or so, let's talk about, right? We're really fortunate we get to talk, as Megan mentioned, to some really cool people. Over the last 8 or 9 years, we've probably interviewed over 1,000 thought leaders, some of the most amazing entrepreneurs that are doing some really cool stuff. And our biggest aspiration with our platform is to be able to help people like you fill that knowledge gap that people have when they succeed in business. Like, it's one thing that you get some really great education in school, but to put it in practical experience is not the same. Right? It's a little bit different when you're out there in the real world. Right? So that's what we do every day. Every day on our website, we feature a different thought leader, a different founder of a really cool business. They share what they've done, they share their ideas, and they give you an opportunity to connect with them. Right? So that's what makes it so exciting. And every Wednesday, we're here from 12:30 to about 1:30. We either do our interviews live here or we have people present to have conversations like this. So we invite you to come in at any time. Okay? So there's not a lot of people here, so I can ask you, I want to see a show of hands of who here has aspirations to have impact in the world. I kind of figured, right? It's all of us. So then let's make this fun and let's make it interactive. So when I look back at my career, I started in 1986. I was recruited to start a corporate sales department for the Washington Bullets and Washington Capitals hockey team. I'm from Washington, D.C., and I love sports. So as a 20-year-old kid, to start something new for a professional sports organization was really cool. So I dropped everything else I was doing and I said, I'm going to go work for those guys. And it took me about 5 weeks to realize that there is a reason why still to this day, 25 years later, those teams don't win. Their organizations they're just not run very well. So right off the bat, I knew this wasn't going to last. And then I got recruited to get into the finance industry. At that time, I was 20 years old. I couldn't even get a license to sell securities or to do, so I had to kind of do an internship in order to get to get into the industry. So throughout the last 25 years, here are the 3 most important things that I learned. Number 1, thinking small will keep you small. Okay? I come from a really conservative family, and I got into a really conservative industry. And it was programmed in my mind that when you're working with people, you should set realistic expectations. Because you want to under-promise and over-deliver, because that's how your credibility is built. So if we were working with you and if we were working with your business, we wanted to have goals that we knew we were going to meet, because when we exceeded them, you thought better of us. So for a long time, it was ingrained in me, hey, be conservative, be conservative, be conservative. Right? And then one time, when I was probably 24 years old, I got introduced to an entrepreneurial think tank where once every quarter, a group of entrepreneurs get together in Chicago and in Toronto, Canada. So we kind of rotate. Every quarter we get together and we sit down in a room like this for 10 hours and we talk about our businesses, we talk about what's happening in the world. And during one of the sessions, somebody brought in an exercise we had to do, it was a working session. And the exercise was called the 10 times mind expander. Now, mind you, I was probably, 4 years into my career. And the 10 times mind expander was designed to teach you to multiply your thinking by 10 times. And he had it all structured. So we were going to play this game for the next 10 hours about what has to happen in your business and your life for you to see this 10x growth. So we played along. And everybody left with a working plan that day. And the moment I got on a plane to get back home to Washington, everything in my life changed. I was much more inspired. I got a real sense of what really great entrepreneurs do. I wasn't afraid to set something really big and fall short. That's really ambition. So from that point on, I learned that unless you want to make big bets in life, you're going to live a life that's not going to be as fulfilling. And that's a mental shift more so than anything. So I'm sure each of you has goals, right? You have 150 people that are using your app in the first week. I would take 30 seconds, and I want everybody just take out a piece of paper, and I want you to write down if there was one thing you could accomplish this year, what would it be? Write it down real quick. Just one thing. We don't talk about realism anymore, right? We're off that. That was back 20 years ago. One thing. And don't give it much thought. You already know. Just write it down. Nobody uses paper anymore, right? Just put everything on your phone. Paper is so yesterday, right? Got it? If you don't, keep writing. So here's what I'd like you to think about. When you get out of here, multiply it by 100. That's it. Multiply it by 100 and figure out how to get there. All right? And if you want to know somebody who really loves to take moonshots, go to Wired and read an article on Larry Page last year that was written on him, just called Moonshots. And he will convince you that you're actually hurting yourself and you're hurting society if you don't have that level of ambition. I learned it the hard way. Right? So I wish I had that level of thinking when I started. Okay? Makes sense? So I remember Zuckerberg saying, we don't want to go from 1 million to 2 million users. We want to go from 1 million to 1 billion. It takes a whole different mindset to go there. Okay? Second lesson. The difference between living a really good life and a great life and having a really extraordinary career and then one that's over the top great are relationships. Nothing will impact your life more than the relationships you have. And I know it's not something that you talk a whole lot about in academia, but you've all heard the term, who you know matters. It matters more than you'll ever know. So the most important thing that I can tell you about the people in your environment, be around people who not only challenge you to be better, but force you to be better. And it's really hard. Okay? That inner circle keeps shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. But when you really think about it, the culmination of the people that you're around will determine how far you go in life. And I can just give you example after example after example of that. Whether it's professors, whether it's people that you know here at school, build great relationships. When I was coming up in the world of finance, I made it a practice every single week to try to reach out to some prominent people in the Washington area and to do everything that I could to let them know that the only thing I want is an opportunity to learn from them. I didn't want an opportunity to do business with them. I didn't want an opportunity to go working with them. I wanted that wisdom that they've gained to rub off. And although they were making so much money, I'm the one that always ended up paying for their dinners or their lunches or their drinks or whatever, because I wanted them to see that I was in it for the right reasons. I can tell you 25 years later, they still impact my life immeasurably. Immeasurably. I just think this generation needs to take that a little more seriously because it matters. And this is not your online relationship. This is not your Facebook friends or your Twitter followers. These are real people you see eyeball to eyeball, have conversations with, tell them, hey, I need help, I'm having a crappy day, or I'm really struggling with my business, or I'm running out of cash. Those are the people that are going to change your life. Okay? But you approach it with the right reasons. The third most important thing that I learned, again, this came from this think tank that I was with, are if there are two character traits that you want to develop, it's confidence and resilience. And I know there are no confidence classes here at Rady or resilience classes. Only life can teach you that. But I can tell you, without confidence, you're not going to make those big bets that we talked about. And without resilience, you're going to have a really hard time as an entrepreneur. So there are lots of ways you can practice and grow your confidence. One of the areas Chase and I work on the most is to try to find out, whether it's from world-class athletes, whether it's from some of the best top thinkers in the world, how do you grow their confidence? And I can tell you there are two ways for you to really think about that. Number one, get really smart. Of all of the people that we've spoken to, competence will have the greatest impact on your confidence. Okay? A lot of people talk about practice and all that stuff, and all of that stuff matters. The greatest impact on your confidence is going to be your competence. The second thing is for you to have a really good relationship with yourself. Have a really good relationship with yourself. Okay? Get inside as much as you can. Get to know yourself better than anybody else. Because if you don't, you're never going to be able to get back up. Right? So if you go and ask all of these great entrepreneurs who've done really great things in life, what's the one thing you attribute to your success? Lots of them will tell you the trendy term now is grit. I got a lot of grit. Or professors will tell you, got to have a lot of grit. Get back up and just keep doing it. So, number one, thinking small hurts you more than it helps you. Relationships are probably the most important things that you could ever have in your life, personally and professionally. And then number three, work on let your competence, your confidence, and your resilience be skills that you develop. Athletes develop them, right? If you're watching the Olympics right now, Athletes develop, they learn how to become confident and how to have a crappy run like Shaun White did yesterday and get back up and do it again. We don't learn that a lot in life, unfortunately. Make sense? All right, 3 more things and then I'm going to shut up. Here are the things I wish I would have learned a lot faster. Okay? Again, I want to go back to the industry I came in. Whether it's anywhere in finance or Wall Street, you have to always look really conservative, you have to play the part, and you have to be smart. What I quickly learned is intelligence isn't what you know. Intelligence is what you're curious about. The smartest people I know are the first ones to tell you, I don't know. They're the first ones to tell you, you know what? I really don't know. How do I get the traction that you want from 150 people to 150 million people? But I'm going to ask. I really wasn't trained like that. That if I was the leader of this organization, it's a sign of weakness for me not to be able to have the answer. Because how are they supposed to trust me or follow me if I didn't have all the answers? So a lot of people just fake it. Well, I wasn't comfortable with that. And the more that I got around really bright, really successful people, the more that I learned, because they're so confident with who they are as people, they want to tell you, I don't know, but I'm going to ask Chase. Right? Warren Buffett, case in point. See, he's about as vulnerable as anybody. Hey, I don't know anything about that, but I got a great team. So get really good at asking questions and define your intelligence not by what you know, but what you're curious about. Okay? Because it makes a big, big difference. Okay? Number 2, I wish I would have taken my computer science class more seriously. I fell into the trap, who needs this stuff? But it's a requirement. So I took 2 of those classes, and we all tried to figure out how do we work together to kind of like, we had to learn basic, I guess was the language, and then this other one, it's like, who the hell's going to do this stuff? None of us had the foresight to think ahead. I don't know of a whole lot of people right now that are in your shoes who shouldn't get some element of software development. If nothing else, get familiar with it. Or meet people that are really good at it, because you can't live without it. Right? And as I look back and I tell my kids, I wish I would have just taken it just a little more serious, just so I can read it. I don't need to do it, I just needed to read it. But we didn't have that foresight. It was, hey, let's get through school and have fun as quickly as we can, and then we'll go out and find jobs. You have an opportunity, I think, that is an opportunity of a lifetime with this institution to get really good at that or to meet people who are really good at that. All right, and the last thing that I wish I would have learned a lot quicker is life is an ongoing experiment. Unless you get out and constantly, all throughout your life, have little experiments that you're trying, you're never going to know. You're never going to do great things. Okay? This 33 voices that we've developed came from a little experiment that got me really inspired. We were really focused back in Washington to just show the people we were working with that their well-being and their success was a heck of a lot more important than their business to us. So the first Friday of every month, we would invite 25 of them into our office in a place like this. We had a pretty cool office suite, and we had created a great experience. And we'd invite a thought leader to have conversations with them. We'd sit around the room for 2 hours. Nobody would ever, it's not a networking session or a pitch session, nothing. We knew these 25 people had suggested to us that they wanted to improve in area Y. And we'd go find the best person in the world. We'd fly them in, they'd come spend 2 hours with people, and they'd walk off better off than they started. And they loved it. And it grew and grew and grew, and we decided, and this was back in late 99, 2000, to have like audio conferences and video conferencing. It was like a big deal. but we wanted to make sure that we were able to do it. And it was the epiphany for me of that little experiment of all the work I do and of all the incredible relationships that I've developed. The one thing I love more than anything is that those 2-hour time blocks where I've got really 25 amazingly smart people who are eager to get better at taking their business from $1 billion to $10 billion, and I got some really smart people who are helping them along the way. And that's when it was time to say, hey, you know what? Why should I just limit this to our clients? Why can't we just do this with everybody? That was the inspiration. But had I not done that experiment, nothing would have happened. So, the 3 things that I wish I would have learned, you guys already know. Okay? And you're probably really, really good at it. So I'm going to shut up, and then let's take questions. Let's just have dialogue about what you're doing and how we could help you or how you can help one another. Okay? So anybody have any thoughts, questions? Speak up.
Chris, you're never fine.
He's not, but...
I don't have anything that immediately leaps to mind. I guess I'd say I struggle sometimes. Just like moments of doubt, you're talking about like taking on big stuff, and then so I've crashed a startup and some other stuff, and I get frustrated. I've got friends. The guy I work for now actually is a really good friend of mine, which is part of how I ended up there.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a dinner conversation, and about 2 weeks later, there was a fully funded startup out of it, and it was not that easy for me, but and then just overcoming that and like it's really annoying. I don't know if that's a comment or a question or
That's well,
since you're talking about like confidence in yourself and fighting that one, being like, all right, go get up, go do it again, figure out why it looked easy for him. I mean, I know why it's easy for him. It's relationship based. So, but.
Don't get so attached to it. Don't attach your most people are so attached to their business or to their idea that they take everything personal. I've always seen that the people who are really evolving in life, one, they go into every idea with great intention, right? Very authentic intention. I think we have a problem that we can solve. And we're going to do our best. If it works out, great. If it's not, we're going to have one of 2 options. Either we modify it and pivot, or we try something else. But in either scenario, we went in it with the best intentions. It's impossible to get if every idea worked, none of us would be sitting in these rooms. Right? So I really believe that for you as you go into these opportunities, this isn't the first one or the last one that will come your way. It's not as much about you. It's about the idea. And it's not about your efforts. It's about, hey, maybe the problem that you discovered isn't as big of a problem for people. Let the market speak, but don't take it personal. And it's hard. This is a lifetime endeavor.
Don't take it personally. I actually wasn't that attached to the idea myself. It was sort of a test to see if I wanted to come to business school, so let's get involved in business and see if I enjoy it. Just more of like a crisis of confidence, really. Like, these people can do it easily and I can't. There seems to be an issue there.
Yeah, but what makes you say they can do it easily?
So we did most of the things you're supposed to do after reading all the things you're supposed to read, and had pre-orders, had like 170K, could never get funding. These guys had like $4 million in about 2 weeks. So,
Not bad.
Again, it's mostly relationship based. It's part of why I went there, is to get into that community, kind of be surrounded by those people, kind of improve my credentials there, so I have access to the talent that I need. So I can't program either, but there's a lot of people in that community that can.
Sure.
And the money that I need and the various other things that come with being part of that group. So.
Yeah, confidence, Chris, is something that you never stop growing. It never stops growing. I mean, you see it happen in sports all the time, and as spectators, we think that's just what they get paid to do, right? Not a whole lot of people that have to restart their confidence more than Peyton Manning, right? And we have a small sports management agency where we work with a lot of these professional athletes, and the one thing that I'll never forget from him is when he says, hey, every time I have a bad play, a bad game, or whatever, I always tell myself, get back to zero. Just get back to zero. Start over. And it's just the same thing. I had dinner one night with a very, very prominent professional athlete, and I asked him a question about, you're such an enigma to people, right? You're an icon, but you're such a damn enigma to people. Why are you so intriguing? And he said, because I'm never afraid of the unknown. I love it. I want to take that shot because if I miss it, it's just a shot. I'm going to take my next one. And, you know, and the more you're around people like that, the more you realize that they're far enough away that they know there's always a restart button. There's always a pause button. Okay? And this confidence thing, they're always good. They get the butterflies too. We just think, I mean, you need to look at all the most successful entrepreneurs out there. When they got these game-changing ideas, they tell you that a lot of times what's driving them is fear. Be friends with it. But don't ever stop working on it. And the more you experiment with things, the more you'll realize it's just part of life. All of us can benefit from it. What else?
I think it's kind of funny, but I don't know, not funny, but the idea of having confidence in entrepreneurship. I think that's the one area that it's difficult to be confident in because it's unlike any other situation. I mean, basketball, if you're a sportsman, you can practice that free throw shots many times
Sure.
as you want. In entrepreneurship, you're going in there, every new step you're doing for a new company is a completely new step. And obviously the gamble is a lot bigger because there's so much more riding on every step you take.
Mm-hmm.
And so that, I think, is the difficult part. I mean, we're at this sort of launch stage here, we're waiting for the right moment to kind of, like, we pulled the trigger on a very small amount of marketing resources we have, and we've got tons of more resources that we can go out and more connections to use. We're just waiting to make sure that the market likes what the product now. And some might say that that's us not being confident in our product. I say that's not us being not confident in our products, and that we should just go out there. But in entrepreneurship, there's so much more at risk by doing that. I could be truly confident in my product right now. We could go explode it right now, and that would be kind of naive, I think. If we went there, I'm confident in our products, but I don't know if there are still unknowns there, and there's a lot to lose. I mean, there's my reputation potentially at radio, at home, with my friends at home who know I'm doing a project like this. There's a lot to lose, as well as the financial and the time, etc. So how can you sort of account for that when entrepreneurship and startups is such a different breed to anything?
Well, that's a great question. So I'll give you a couple things, right? And then I'll give you a specific example that can really help you answer that question. First of all, the approach that you're taking, I would say that's really smart. So if I know that I'm going to test one thing at a time and let people tell me do I like it or I don't, or if they don't like it, that's a really smart approach, because you're saving the millions of people who are going to potentially get that a lot of headache, right? And you're going about your business smart. If I'm an investor in your business, that's what I want. I want somebody to take a methodical approach like that, right? The second thing is when a lot of people talk about entrepreneurship and risk and guts and all of that, entrepreneurs are best at managing risk. What you're doing for yourself and your business is you're managing that risk. Okay? So the confidence comes from people saying, it's a really good idea, but do this. Or the idea isn't really good, and you say, okay, I have a pivot, maybe I'll try something else. Right? I just sent Chase an article yesterday about the resurgence of eBay. Very few people know the story of what happened to eBay when they were much away from dying. A guy probably younger than a lot of people in this room came up with a little simple, some people say foolish idea, that at one all-hands meeting, when they were talking about, hey, we're in crisis.